home of the stars, through the airwaves and on the big screen. Coming to you live from Hollywood, it's Rated G Radio with your host, Garrett Miller.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rated G Radio. We are doing a very special early edition of the show today with Mr. Paul Tams. Paul's going to be joining the show in just a quick moment, and we're doing the show early because, you know, we've got this fantastic 8-hour time difference between here and the UK, and Paul is actually calling in from London or nearabouts. We'll find out from him in just a second. And so we wanted to make sure we do it at a reasonable hour. I mean, how rude would it have been if we said, you know, Paul, call in at 3 in the morning? That sounds bright and chipper. So we're going to have him on in just a quick moment and find out about his cool new project called All American Divas and a Kickstarter campaign that's going on for that. Quick reminder from a programming standpoint, Friday we have Pink Cigar. It's another early Friday dance party, and Pink Cigar is going to be on the show tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's noon East, so set your calendars for that. Of course, if you're following Blog Talk Radio's follow button right here on Rated G Radio, you'll see the follow button, and if you click that, you'll get a text or email reminder every day that we are live. And, of course, we're live with fresh new programming 5 days a week. I always say, you know, with every guest, now, without further ado, Mr. Paul Tams is calling in live from the UK. Paul, how are you this afternoon?
I'm fine, Garrett. How are you?
I'm doing great. Can I start by asking the question that everybody asks me when we do calls? You know, as we say across the pond. What's your weather like over there?
It's pretty clear. We've had what we call an Indian summer, so we've had sort of high degree temperatures sort of later in the year, which you know, it's been quite pleasant. I don't know if you've seen any of the World Rugby games or anything like that, and they've been pretty, you know, it's been pretty good weather. It's not the California weather, unfortunately, but it's along for that. But it's doable, as they say.
It's doable. Well, first of all, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and tell us all about you and the things that you've been working on. As we get started, this is our first time actually talking live and in Technicolor. And can you humor me for just a moment and kind of tell me a little bit about who you are?
Oh, okay. Well, I used to live in London because obviously the UK we're a small island, but I live in Manchester now, which is everybody, including the BBC, moved up here. But I started off as a children's book illustrator as a teenager, and I moved from there into television and into film work and performing as well as designing, and then on to producing, writing, and you know, basically being a jack of all trades with it all. And that's basically, as I said, I started as an illustrator, and I used to do comic strips and professionally, and then moved on to working and joined the BBC and became a cameraman, and then a designer, and moved up that way. But as you get older, you decide that delegation is the key word, and get other people to do some of the work, and you stand in the background and hopefully reap the rewards, you know.
Hey, in reading your bio,
in a nutshell,
you did a comic strip called The Adventures of Boy George.
Yeah.
What in the world do you put in a comic strip about Boy George?
Well, I turned him into something that a sort of a superhero. He went into space fighting aliens and saved the then British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who'd been stolen by aliens, which a lot of people in the 80s would have preferred she had been. But you know, so bizarre things like that, and there's, you know, jewel robberies and all sorts of things. It was a bizarre comic strip. I wouldn't say it ran and ran, but it was one of those things that Virgin Records at the time said, yeah, do what you like, and they weren't even interested in seeing proofs or the
Wow.
They just said, like, get on with it. That was in those days when, people didn't, think about merchandising and marketing as much as they do these days, and getting rights cleared and all this sort of thing. So
now, when you were the illustrator for that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was in a monthly music magazine called Record Winner, which it was of the time. It was 1980s. It was Wham, George Michael, everybody like that was around at the time. Bananarama, all sorts of, Huey Lewis and the News even made a cover. So it just shows how long ago that was.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of Wham and Bananarama, I am going to tell you that when you come out here to the States, I think you're coming out next month, I'm going to get an 8x10 glossy made of that picture you sent me from high school, and I'm going to ask you to autograph that for me. That was the best thing I've ever seen.
Really? Oh, cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, well,
I wish none of my friends did anything adventurous like that, and I'm looking at that picture, Paul, going, Paul, you're the coolest guy I know now.
I did a bit of music myself before I started producing music, so I think it was fun while it lasted.
So have you always been doing the creative?
I was only 3 back then.
Well, of course you were only 3. I mean, I could tell by the bib, but other than it was a great picture. I'm quite impressed with that. So, have you always been doing creative work? It seems like from your resume that you've just gone from one creative project to the next.
I even started before I left school. I mean, I went to a publisher because my parents live in the countryside, just south of Manchester, in a place called Cheshire, and I bunked off school and went to see publishers in Manchester when I was about 15, lied about my age, and got freelance work.
Wow.
I said I was 19, and they didn't believe me, but they gave me all this freelance work from the portfolio I showed them. And but it was the way you blagged. It was before they could, before the days of the internet where people could check people out and legitimize things, because they had to. Everything was done by sending a thing called a letter with a stamp and
oh my goodness,
back in those days. Yeah, I know.
Well,
prehistoric.
From your days from an illustrator, you went to work for the BBC, and how do you then translate that into managing big stars like Hazel Dean and Bucks Fizz?
Oof. Well, I left home at 18, moved to London, which it's roughly just under 200 miles away from where I was brought up in the country. So hit the city lights, got a job at the BBC, trained as a cameraman, and moved on from there to doing design work, and was always interested in dance music and pop music and doing freelance work like the comic strips and things like that. And I did a lot of designs for record covers, so I did quite a lot of covers for albums and 12 inches and 7 inches back in the day, and got to meet people, and then started producing music myself, and that's how I met Rick Giannatos, who's an LA-based producer and entrepreneur musically, and he did a lot of the classic disco, people like Shalimar, and he did Shirley Bassey's big disco version of This Is My Life. I think you've got him coming on in a few weeks, and you'll be able to discuss all that with him. But I got to meet him through a project we were doing with a UK-based label of re-recording old Motown stars. So we met in Detroit. We were re-recording people like Mary Wells, ex-members of the Supremes, and Marv Johnson, and quite a lot of American people that way. American artists that had formerly been recording with Motown. It was called the Motor City Project, and we became great buddies, and we've stayed in touch all these years. So that's since about 88, 89. So that's how the music started becoming sort of like overtaking everything else I was doing, and then getting involved, starting a recording studio up as well, and then meeting up with artists, and then taking on their management. And I did that with Hazel for a few years, and Bucks Fizz as well. So, it was a fun time. So
now it reads here that you've had some sellout shows as a stand-up also at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So you, on top of everything else, you're funny.
Yes, it can be.
I'm not going to put you on the spot. Okay, well, I'm not going to put you on the spot to tell us a joke, but yeah, cool.
I think it's too early in the morning for my sense of humor. It's a little bit cutting and a little bit blue.
Okay, well, no worries. I
did a character. I did a show character. I created a character, shall we say? She was a little bit divine-like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so well, I think
an offshoot.
I think we're going to have to see this in person at some point, so I appreciate that. So tell me about this project that you've got going called All American Divas.
Well, All American Divas is an idea that I had with Rick, because over the years we've re-recorded so many artists. When Viola Wills was still with us, she actually was living in the UK, and I re-recorded all her hits and other songs with her for an album that we released over here in the UK. And so I've got that catalogue. Rick's been recording people like Sherry Payne, Frida Payne, her sister, the former ladies of the Supremes, Cindy Birdsong and Linda Lawrence and Sherry Payne, and disco divas such as Patty Brooks, who was on the Casablanca label alongside Donna Summer, Jessica Williams and Cynthia Manley, and several other artists like Linda Clifford. So basically, the idea was, okay, let's put a compilation together of this. And I thought, because I've done another book recently, let's put it together as a book with a CD in the back. So rather than just do it ourselves and put it onto Amazon to sell it, I came up with the idea of, let's do it as a Kickstarter campaign as a pre-order. It covers some of the costs, and then we can get it out to people and find out, engage from their reaction, how interested the public would be to actually buy the book.
So when you do a Kickstarter campaign, one of the things that I find really fun are all of the rewards that people offer. What do you have as some of the gimmies if people back the campaign?
With this particular campaign, there'll be a bonus download album with 10 totally different tracks than the tracks that are actually on the CD. So that's one of the bonuses. One of the other bonuses, which I thought would be a fun thing, would be if one of the fans has photographs and a story to tell of their time with one of the ladies or anything that they'd like to put in. There'd be like a fan section, a chapter where they could have their photos printed and their own story. So it's there, as a testament to, having met the ladies and being photographed with them at a show, and a memory of a personal memory of that performance. So a nice little something like that. And then there's another bonus, which is will be a DVD of all the videos that Rick and I have made over the years of the performances that we've released as records with some of the artists, which hasn't been available outside of YouTube.
Wow!
But it's never been available on a compilation DVD.
How did you? I mean, out of all of these amazing ladies, how did you narrow it down to these fantastic performers?
The people that Rick's worked with personally, I mean, he worked with Martha Wash before she became a member of the Weather Girls, when they were Sylvester's backing singers, called 2 Tons of Fun. So that gives Rick's age of being slightly older than 39, which is his usual admittance for his age.
I think we're all on that page, or at least I am.
He won't like me for saying that, but there you go. It's so basically it's artists that he's worked with and grown up alongside as a producer with, and and it's people that I've listened to or danced to in my old hedonistic clubbing days. as a mere youth. So it has been a great pleasure to work with them. So it's nice to actually get them back in the studio. And the whole premise of the book is, what have they done since their major successes, and what are they doing now? And these are some new recordings that we've done with them. And, it's just to let the people out there know that these ladies are still out there, they're still working, and they're still doing it.
Wow. Now, did you do the interviews yourself, or how did the book portion of this, kind of get put together?
Well, obviously, over the years, we've been doing publicity photos on them, and any time we've had them in the studio, we've been having photographs taken with them and of them actually recording tracks. So we've got quite a nice selection of material. Plus, we'll be getting material from the ladies themselves to actually go in the book. So it'll be all pretty exclusive stuff of them on stage in different venues, or from behind the scenes photos. I mean, with Viola Wills, I've got quite a lot of photographs of her, having her makeup done in a photographic studio behind the scenes, and some fun times that we had together. Because I left London and moved to a place called Brighton, which is like the Santa Monica of the south coast of England.
Oh, nice!
It's quite an artsy place, yes. And so that will be all in the book. And Rick and I worked with an artist called Frances Nero, who is a Detroit-based singer. She had a sort of semi-successful Northern Soul record, which was released on Motown. She won a talent contest in the early 60s with Motown as a young girl. And she had this one record which became like a big favorite on the dance circuit here and the Northern Soul circuit. And she was tracked down, and a new record was recorded with her, and it actually charted over here. It went top 20. So
wow.
That was quite a phenomenal success. And I managed her whilst she was over here in the UK, and she unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But so I've got all the behind-the-scenes photos of all the TV shows we did. We trailed all over the UK doing live gigs and PAs and everything. And I had a fantastic time with Frances. And as I said, unfortunately, she's no longer with us now. But that'll be a nice story to tell in the book, even though she's not on the record. So, there's things like that I think will be a treasured memory to actually go in it.
Well, I can't wait to get my own copy of the book and the CD. For everybody who's listening either live or, as I say, on Memorex, meaning on demand, there's a link right on the Blog Talk Rated G radio page to check out the All-American Divas Kickstarter campaign. You can just click the Here button. We make it that easy for you. And you can go check out the rewards and make it I don't call it a donation, but you can help support the pledge and get your own copy of that. Special shout-out today to music business promoter David Crooks for making all of this happen. David's awesome, and I really enjoy the opportunity to work with him. So, David, thank you very much for connecting Paul and I. Paul, I know our time is short. Real quick, you've got some other projects that are in the works coming up for 2016 and 17. Can you share any secrets with us?
Yeah, I have a business partner here in the UK. I mean, Rick Giannotti is my American business partner, but I have a business partner here in the UK called Bob Baker, and he was the co-creator of K9, who was a robot dog in the Doctor Who TV series for many years. And he also wrote the Wallace and Gromit movies, which won Oscars and BAFTAs. And we went to Australia in 2009 and made a TV show in association with Disney XD called K9, with a redesigned version of the character that I designed myself. And we produced 26 episodes that are still in syndication. It was shown on Sci-Fi Channel in the USA, and it's on BBC Kids in Canada, and it's still on Cartoon Network and in some parts of the world. And we're going to make an announcement on the 24th of October about K9's future, because we've inked a deal to do a new version of K9, a reboot. So that's pretty exciting. And there's other children's TV shows that we're involved in doing some pilots for. So it's an ongoing thing. I seem to be either between music or children's television at the moment, so which is great. So it's great fun. I always said when I'd get to a certain age, I'd just sit back and write and illustrate children's books, and I'm doing a little bit more than that because obviously TV's come into play with it. So it's just fun.
Gosh.
It's fun.
It sounds like you really enjoy pretty much all of the projects that you've ever worked on. Do you have, out of everything that you've done so far, do you have a favorite, Paul?
As I said, the time with Frances when she was over here from Detroit, that was precious because that was a Cinderella story for this lady who in the early 60s had done one record, didn't realize that it was even popular anywhere in the world, and nothing happened with it chart-wise, and that was it with her story as far as she was concerned. And then she was rediscovered and then had a hit record over here in 91 with a record called Footsteps Following Me that Rick produced the vocals on. It's that was nice to see that someone's dream finally come true. So that was memorable, and I had some great times with Bucks Fizz and also my time in Australia producing the K9 TV series. I met some wonderful people and worked with some great people there. So it was fun, and also I had a lot of good times in LA as well. I usually come over at least once a year, hopefully just for Thanksgiving, and see Rick and Carla over there and have fun with friends. It's a lovely place, and it's just a shame that you have to have a green card to be there permanently.
Well, I can't wait to meet you in person, Paul. And everybody, please go and check out. Well, and thank you. Paul's project, All American Divas, they've got a great Kickstarter campaign. Again, click the Here button on the show page. Go check that out. I'm doing that today. And we'll be back with headlines of the day and other interesting news. Here's a little sneak preview of tomorrow's Pink Cigar. This is their song, Generation Next. We'll be right back.
little pink cigar for you. That's a preview of our very special guest tomorrow on the Friday morning dance party. That's Generation Next. That's the first track off of their album we're going to be showcasing. Special thanks to Mr. Paul Tams, who joined us in the first half of our hour-long program today, and to David Crooks for making the connection. I can't wait to get my own copy of All American Divas. And the Kickstarter campaign link is on the show page today. Go check that out. I mean, seriously, who doesn't remember all of the hits by Frida Payne, Cherry Payne, Patty Brooks, Pamela Stanley, Linda Clifford, former ladies of the Supremes, which include Cindy Birdsong, Linda Lawrence, Cherry Payne, and Jean Terrell. We've got Jessica Williams, Cynthia Manley, Viola Wills. So many names here, I'm losing my voice. The Love Twins, the Dream Girls Dance Project soundtrack, and so much more. But what I really love, I mean, I buy the book, okay, so I'm just going to tell you that because I would love to read the stories about what's going on, but the fact that you also are able to get a 12-track download link of the tracks. They've also got other bonus perks and things like that. Let me run down the perks here real quick. For $1 or £1 or more, that's about $1.52 US dollars. You get a special screensaver of the All American Divas plus their eternal thanks for supporting us. That's for $1.52 US dollars. For about $8 US, £5. A special screen, all of that plus, you get a special 3-track download of new tracks. For $15 US dollars, £10, you get all of that plus a 12-track download link of tracks for about $30, £20. All of that plus the book and CD, All American Divas, plus your name will be on the acknowledgments page. That's for $30. You get the book, the CD, screensaver, all of that. For $46 or £30, you get all of that plus a special limited edition DVD of video performances by the All American Divas for $46. And if you want to be the Grand Slam champion of pledges for about $152 US dollars, £100, you get the as part of a feature meeting the ladies, you can also provide your story and photos of how you met that artist, and they'll include your story and photos as part of the chapter. If you want to be part of history, you're going to be in a book, and then you get the CD, you get the DVD, you get the acknowledgments, you get all of that fun stuff. Go check that out. Oh my gosh. Really excited that Paul was on our show. Because Paul's done it all. He's been an illustrator of fantastic works like movie posters and comic strips. I know we talked to him just a little bit about the comic strip featuring Boy George, but I could probably spend an entire week talking to him about the different things that he's done. But he's done the movie posters for like the Blue Lagoon and Ghostbusters and Flash Gordon. He did a souvenir magazine sanctioned by Buckingham Palace for the engagement and marriage of Charles and Diana. You might remember those two names, but the fact that he's transitioned into, music management and now is doing all of this other stuff, really, really impressive guest. Thanks, Paul, for being on the show. Well, let's get to other news of the day. I want to talk about another podcast. It's not like I want to do, because we don't compete. I always say there's always enough for everybody. And for me, there's enough for everybody, especially because they air really like Monday night super, super late or Tuesday morning, depending upon what part of the coast you're on. But there's this podcast by Jeanette Barber that she puts on once a week. It's called Completely Uninformed with Jeanette and Pete. And you'll remember Jeanette Barber and then Google Pete. That's his nickname, Google Pete. They were on the Rosie O'Donnell show on Sirius XM for about a year and a half when that ran, or maybe it was longer than that, but it didn't seem like it was that long because I love the Rosie O'Donnell show on Sirius XM satellite radio. And then after that was over, Jeanette had her own show on Sirius XM for about a year and a half. And then when that came to a conclusion, Jeanette is working in the private sector, meaning like, not at Sirius XM. She's, got it's not fair to call it a real job because all jobs are real, but she's got a real job not having to do with, radio. And when I found that she was doing this podcast, I said, Jeanette, oh my God, I would listen to you read the phone book, and it would be fascinating to me. But what Jeanette does is once a week she sits down at her computer and has her list of topics and just talks intelligently and in a very interesting manner about a wide range of everything. From, why you shouldn't drink, milk that you buy in the store. You should only buy farm fresh milk. Why you shouldn't, she goes off on all of these other topics. And she's, she researches it and she does her homework. And she's absolutely brilliant. Jeanette's going to be back on our show sometime in December, I think. Let me take a look here. Isn't this fascinating? You're listening to me turn the pages on my show page here. It is, I think it's December. Jeanette is going to be back on Thursday, December 3rd with us. We're just going to chit-chat for the hour. And, she was nice enough to come on the show 2-3 months ago, something like that, and I just fell in love, and I love all of my guests, to be quite honest. We just don't have, schlubby guests. We get great people from all around the country, and like today, Paul, he's clear over in the United Kingdom. But when Jeanette came on, or I approached her, when I saw the podcast, I said, hey, hello, Jeanette, I'm a longtime fan, first-time caller, that type of a thing. Would you like to be on my show? I'm always surprised when I get a big score like a Jeanette Barber on the show. She's a 6-time Emmy winner. I've had Grammy winners, I've had Emmy winners before, but not somebody who's won 6 Emmys for daytime television as a writer for the Rosie O'Donnell show. I haven't had somebody with that many accolades on the show in a long time, if ever. 6 Emmys. And she said, I'd love to do the show. And I fell out of my chair. And so when Jeanette came on, it was one of those times also where I thought, I'm really going to impress her with our fancy new technology. We've got this new direct connect option here on Blog Talk, and I'm going to have her call in with this, and none of it worked. So we ended up having to go to old school telephone, kind of like what I'm doing today. I tried to connect in via Skype, and all of the chat host lines were occupied. And like at 8:30 in the morning, how are all the chat lines occupied? I said, fine, whatever. And so I just dialed in. It sounds like I'm slamming Blog Talk. I really am not. They are fantastic, great, very responsive, and they're trying to do some really cool things technologically that will make the show sound just like you are listening to, radio, not a podcast. But they have got some big bugs that they are trying to work out. And in the meantime, it either works really, really good or it works really, really bad. And when Jeanette was on, it worked really, really bad. So she was a sport, and I, she was pinging me on Facebook and sending me emails going, I'm trying to call in, but it won't connect. But she was on, super guest, super fun, and I have just fallen in love with her podcast, Completely Uninformed with Jeanette and Pete. So this week they've got episode 103 that's up, and I typically, when I'm listening to the show, because when I'm sitting at my computer like I'm doing the show right now with you guys, I have a hard time listening to podcasts because I'm usually trying to read or research or reply to emails or generate stuff that actually requires me to think. And when I'm listening to Completely Uninformed with Jeanette and Pete, I love it so much. I lose focus on everything else. So what's the one place in my day that I need distraction when I'm doing something? It's when I'm doing my cardio. And so what I'll usually do is on a Wednesday or Thursday morning when I'm going to get on for a full hour, which is usually how I start the day. I roll out of bed, put on my gym shorts, go outside where my elliptical machine is at, and get on and put on my headset and listen to music or something. Well, when I know I'm going to have a fresh episode of Jeanette's show, then I just click on the little link and put myself on autopilot, and the next thing I know, the hour's up. I've had a completely entertaining time. I'm glad I've exercised. My endorphins are high, and I've been enlightened by the beautiful Jeanette Barber. So, Jeanette, thank you for posting another episode. Just super, super fun times to listen. Self-promotion of the day. My video for Witch Sisters Halloween is rapidly reaching 1 million views and likes on YouTube, so go check it out. And when you go see the number, give me a big thumbs up and a nice little comment. We'll always appreciate that along the way. Big thanks to Tony for reposting that this morning on your Facebook and sending it out on social media. Paul in upstate New York as well. We've got Lisa, who's also sending that out and making nice comments, and everybody else. Appreciate that very, very much. Last night on the show, we had psychic Zoe Niklaus out of Seattle, Washington, and again, rarely have technical issues. Last night was a technical issue. The show is always an hour, except for Friday when it's 2. And yesterday, for some reason, the show wanted to be a 15-minute show. So we've done this great education piece, and she's going through all of the, process and hows and whys and what fors of how she does what she does. Fascinating. Because you think somebody just say, well, I'm a psychic, so, tell me what, where's my cat? In a van down by the river. Okay, that's great. But Zoe actually explains the process behind all of the things that she does. And so we've gotten through about, 13 minutes of the show, and we're almost ready to start taking listener calls last night. And I get this prompt from Blog Talk. You have 90 seconds. And so as she's talking, I'm mad chatting to the folks at Blog Talk and saying, can you extend the show? Can you? And she goes, and they were nice, said, no, you can't really do that, but the show will keep recording for an hour. So I went back and said, Zoe, thank you so much. And I'm explaining this because when you go and listen to the replay, you'll understand. But, Zoe, thank you so much. But we've got a little situation. The show's going to end in like 6 seconds, and it really did. And we can keep going with the show. You can take the listener calls that have already called in because their calls won't be dropped. Hallelujah. Or we can kind of hang up the show now, disconnect the show, and I have to delete all of that because then it makes it like it didn't happen. You use like your dry erase board. And then you can reset the show and start and go at 7:30. So that was at like 7:23, and Zoe says, I think it's important that we, get to as many callers as we can, and we'll, let's restart the show at 7:30. What a fantastic and gracious guest Zoe was yesterday, just for saying that, because we had so many callers last night. It was crazy. Zoe's newer to the program in the last 6 months or so, and every time she comes on, we always get, a couple hundred calls easily. We never get to everybody, and, we take a small fraction of the calls that call in. So we restarted the show at 7:30. So when you go back and listen to the replay, we kind of skip all of that education piece that she loves to do at the first part of the show and dive just right into the phone calls. And so we took a ton of calls last night. If you were lucky enough to get through last night and want to re-listen to what her reading was or message was for you, go back and listen to the replay. You can listen, and on the replay you can go backwards and forwards, and it's not like, okay, now I've got to listen to the whole show again. No, just back up a little bit, just like on a tape deck, if you remember what a tape deck is, and do that. So Zoe, I want to thank you for your graciousness, but also remind everybody, she threw this out here, like 5 minutes before the show started, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. You won't even know what to do. She's giving away readings at $1 a minute between now and Halloween. So if you go to ZoeNicklaus.com, ZoeNiclaus.com, and you fill out your information, like the contact page, you say, I heard about this special on the radio. She'll contact you, get it set up, and you can talk to her for $1 a minute. That by far has to be the best deal around, and she uses a variety of different methods to draw her information in. So it's not like she only has, she's not just a one-trick pony. And so when she's giving you her feedback, sometimes it sounds like it's almost a little robotic or computer generated because it's how she's presenting it. It's like very factual. It's not esoteric, and it's not all flowery, and it's not anything like that. It's like, okay, here's what I see, here's why I see what I see, and she goes through a great explanation of that. So if you'd like a Rated G Radio only special, it's $1 a minute. Go to ZoeNicklaus.com, and you too can get a reading for a bargain. So, have you been following the news about former L.A. Laker Lamar Odom? Obviously, we don't like to hear anything bad about anybody. We wish everybody well, but just sometimes you think, oh, my goodness, can you help yourself a little bit? So here is a new update on Lamar Odom's sex enhancement supplements that may have been spiked. This comes from USA Today. And it says sexual enhancement supplements like those reportedly taken by Lamar Odom before he collapsed at a Nevada brothel are often spiked with powerful and hidden pharmaceuticals, despite labels claiming they only contain herbs and other natural ingredients. Experts and regulators have warned about this for years, it says. Odom took cocaine and as many as 10 sexual performance supplement pills leading up to his hospitalization in Las Vegas. That's according to a 911 call released Wednesday by the Nye County Sheriff's Department. The product he took was called Reload, 72 hours strong, sexual performance enhancer for men. Two employees of the Love Ranch confirmed this on the 911 call. In 2013, the FDA issued a public warning that consumers should not purchase or use a supplement called Reload because tests found it contained sildenafil. I would not be good in pharmaceuticals, especially pharmaceutical sales, because they say, like, doctors, be aware of the side effects of sildenafil, and they would think that I've just, not lost my ability to speak. But it's the active ingredient in the prescription erectile dysfunction drug Viagra. And not to get off track on this, but I remember when Viagra first came out years and years and years ago, there was this female comic that was around, and this is before, we probably knew how to say the name of the drug. And she kept calling it Viagra instead of Viagra. So it's Viagra. If you would like to get an erection, take a Viagra. So I just got a kick out of that. Anyway, back to the article. It says the undeclared ingredient may be dangerously interactive with other drugs, especially nitrates, often taken by men with diabetes, high blood pressure, or heart disease. That's from the Food and Drug Administration warning. A photo of the product that the FDA posted with its safety alert included no information about what company made the product. Despite the product's label claiming it was made in the USA, the website listed on it appears to be a Japanese dating site that provides little clue as to who the maker is of the product. Wow. Supplements Shell Game, this is an investigation by USA Today's back in 2013, found it difficult or impossible to determine who the people or companies are behind many of the drug-spiked supplements detected through a limited testing program run by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. When companies could be identified, USA Today found that many of those selling spiked supplements are run by people with criminal backgrounds and regulatory run-ins. Consumers buying products from these firms were in some cases entrusting their safety to people with rap sheets involving barbiturates, crack cocaine, ecstasy, and other narcotics, as well as arrests for selling or possessing steroids and human growth hormone. Other supplement company executives had records of fraud, theft, assault, weapon offenses, money laundering, or other offenses, the investigation found. But in any event, we hope that Lamar Odom gets better quickly. We don't like to see anybody, go down that path, and especially, when you're high profile like that and you're trying to, set an example out there in this world. I will tell you that is tough. I don't know what it would be like to have that much public scrutiny on you at all times. I think that would be really, really hard to do. I don't know. I always say, I want to be, lifestyles of the rich and famous, but there's part of me that goes, that really does kind of sound like it would totally suck if, this and that and the other thing were going on. Ugh, I don't know. Other stuff in the news that's going on. I have this, where I live, and I don't understand how this happens other than it's just like part of nature. Where I live in Huntington Beach, California, lovely place. This is 2-bedroom cottage type of a thing, huge courtyard, huge. It's the size of another lot. Very happy, very blessed. But in this huge courtyard that has, plants in pots, I've got a little waterfall outside to clear out some of the white noise so the dogs aren't barking like maniacs all day long. We have spiders and ants, not a big deal. I've now put DE, or diatomaceous earth, outside to help kind of make those go away, because for some reason they want to come inside the house. I don't like them. We also have crickets, and crickets I think are great. And for years and years and years, I'd see crickets and I'd try to smash them all. And then someone told me crickets are a sign of good luck and prosperity, especially if you hear or see them in your house. And the second I heard that, I said, well, they can come in and stay all day if you want. One of the things that I found interesting, now you can believe me or not, I don't really care. I'm just telling you my experience. And, this is my version of reality, so it may be that, I'm crazy. And that would be a short drive anyway. But I've got these great crickets that are in the house. They're pretty much like in my room, and it's because my room is, closest to like ground level. A little bit in the garage, a couple in the bathroom. And they just kind of keep to themselves. During the day they're very nice, but at night they want to chirp. And I am kind of hard of hearing on my right side. So if I lay on my left side on the pillow, I don't hear the chirping. Now, I can hear all kinds of other noises, but that frequency I can't hear. So I sleep like a baby until I roll over. And if the if I roll over and now my right ear is, up, what do I hear? Or my left ear is up, I hear all of the crickets everywhere. So many, 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 many months ago, I had a conversation with the crickets. I said, crickets, I love you. You are welcome to stay here in the house. I will not step on you. This is a safe haven for you crickets, but please, I beseech of you, I need my sleep. So if you'd be so kind, at night, when I go to bed, if you chirp before I go to bed, that's fine. But when I go to bed, can you please not chirp? I really would appreciate it. If you want to chirp, my door to the patio is open. I leave it open all the time, except for, if nobody's here, then it's locked, of course. But I leave it open so the dogs can go in and out if they have to go potty or want to go sit outside or whatever the case is, even in the middle of the night. So the crickets have been pretty good, with the exception of maybe like a couple of newbie crickets, and I've still had to have a conversation with them saying, please just be quiet. I would really appreciate it if you would go chirp outside. So we've got most of the chirping happening with these crickets outside now. Now I keep my windows, I've got two windows side by side, and I keep them open, and it's been sounding like I've got a cricket farm outside. Now, I know that is not the case, but it sounds like I've got a cricket farm outside because it seems like the crickets want to congregate underneath my windows and then just chirp. Maybe they're going, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know. But it was so loud after the show last night that I went outside, and outside the door I've got a freezer, for extra, food and stuff. And there was a couple of crickets behind the freezer, and I said, crickets, please, please, if you're going to chirp, can you go about 30 yards away, down in that direction? I would really appreciate it because I would like to get some sleep tonight, and as beautiful as your chirping sounds, it's just too loud. I can't deal with this. They either heard my message or were terrified of me, one way or the other. I'm not sure which, but they were quiet, and they kept quiet for the entire night. I want to thank the crickets for that because they're outside chirping right now. You can't hear them on the show, but they are chirping. It's the middle of the day. But here's the coolest thing, and I don't get this at all. I'm not really looking for an explanation other than I just think it's fascinating. And I've got a picture of this to prove it on my Facebook page. So, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that I tend to do while I'm doing the show or right after the show while I'm processing it to get it up on YouTube, I snack a little bit. And one of the things that I snack on are either dry roasted peanuts or honey roasted peanuts because I'm usually looking for, a little bit of extra protein, and I kind of need a little extra fat in my diet. Believe it or not, because I just don't eat a lot of fatty food during the course of the day, and, your body still needs some fat. So even with an avocado, that's, not quite cutting it. Plus, I love nuts. And so I had spilled nuts. I had like one nut that was on the floor. And it was doing the show, and I looked down, and there's this cricket eating the peanut. And I said, I have just lost my flippin' mind. There's no way that this is a cricket eating a peanut. Because the peanut's like, 4 times the size of the cricket, So I took a picture and posted it on Facebook, and people went nuts. And I posted this really because my friend Jennifer up in Wisconsin has adopted this possum. I think it's a female possum, and she calls the possum Walter. And Walter started coming up to her place with her brothers and sisters and would, finally became a little bit domesticated and would like sit in their laps and fall asleep and would eat grapes. And, and Jennifer posts all these wonderful pictures. And I thought, oh, I want a possum now really badly. And I thought I might have a shot at that earlier this summer because there was a baby possum that would come and visit, but he's gone. I don't know where he's at, if he got eaten by a dog or found another home or whatever the case was. But I'd started leaving grapes out for him. I started leaving strawberries out for him, a bowl of water. But I think I probably ended up trying to approach him too late, and or the dogs, with their crazy barking scared him off. So I thought, I'm just not going to get a possum this year. Like I need another pet to take care of. But Jennifer posts these pictures of her giving macaroni and cheese to Walter the possum. And you see Walter smiling like, oh my gosh, I just hit the jackpot. And then you see pictures of Walter on his back, just, belly up, just laying there, and Jennifer and her husband are there petting Walter's belly. And you see Walter doing all these crazy, just adorable, cute things. And you're like, oh my gosh, just the best. So what's the closest equivalent that I have to share with you? It's the cricket. So last night after the show, I look over to the right side of my desk, and there's this cricket just, kind of just hanging out. And I said, well, hi, cricket, how are you? Are you hungry? And it didn't hear anything back. I said, well, here, hold on, let me give you a peanut. So I go and get the, container of peanuts, grab one peanut, and I go and, put it down close to where the cricket was. Cricket didn't jump. I think he knew that I wasn't going to hurt him. And the next thing I know, he starts eating the peanut. And I'm like, yes, we've got another winner. So we go ahead and, just let the cricket eat on the peanut. And Angie wants to go over and eat the peanut and scare the cricket away. I said, nope, that's going to be cricket's peanut. If you want a peanut, here, I'll give you a peanut. And, so all the dogs just basically left the cricket alone until the cricket had had enough. And I don't know if he's probably just eating, like the sugar or whatever he's doing on that. But I have placed a picture of the cricket on my Facebook page. You can actually see that. That was placed about 12 hours ago. And it says, my cricket friend is back. He really likes the honey roasted peanut I share with him. I've told the puppies to leave him alone. This is his snack time. And in the picture, I was able to, I took a first picture, and that one didn't turn out so hot because I thought, the flash is going to scare him away. Apparently not, because I went back and said, well, if I scare him away, I scare him away. But I went and put the camera a lot closer, used the flash, and I took the picture, and you can see this cute little cricket, and it looks like he's looking up at me going like, thank you, or he's saying cheese, and that is my cricket story of the day. There's also a cute picture of Bill and I, and it's funny because Bill likes to be held typically during the show. Now, this used to be an Eric thing, so Eric the Mighty Chihuahua, he has his own Facebook fan page. You can go like it. And Eric used to like to be up and have his paws on the desk and be looking at the screen like he's, getting ready to type out a letter or something during the show. I think Bill caught on that was kind of fun. And so Bill the Chihuahua, he does not have his own Facebook page. I feel like I should create one for each of the dogs, but then I think that I listen to myself say that and then realize what I'm saying. It sounds kind of crazy. And so Bill loves to get up during the show, especially when I have Zoe on. I don't know what it is. He's fascinated with her. And he can't hear anything, so I've got, the headsets on the whole thing, but he just loves it. So he comes and positions himself, in my lap, and then he sits up on his paws, leans back like he's a person, and he, listens to the show or listens to me talk during the show. And that's also a picture that you will see up on Facebook as well. So I think, one of the things that a lot of people said is, I don't ever see pictures of this dog or that dog or, the other dog. Because I post pictures of Sookie every once in a while, but Eric really is the ham of the lot. He will tell you that he's not, but he poses for all of the pictures. And so I was talking to somebody about this last week. They said, you need to make sure all of them have their pictures taken because they're going to get, self-conscious about this. So I went and started taking pictures of Angie and Bill and Jenny last week just to, get some pictures in, the photo album, for, years from now. And so you're going to see some upcoming new pictures of all of the dogs. And, of course, as we get closer to the holidays, we'll figure out how to do some fun holiday type of picture with all of the dogs like we do every year. And, last year I had a picture of the dogs on the couch. Not the best Christmas picture, I'm going to be honest with you. The year before, we had the pictures up on what was called the RTO, the Rooftop Oasis, when I lived across the street and had that rooftop garden where I had, the plants and vegetables and patio furniture. The dogs love to go up there and sun. So I had this picture with all 5 of the dogs. And then somebody was nice enough to I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was my buddy George up in Hollywood. He put little, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, red dots on all of their noses, so it looks like, their noses light up. So cute. And that's still a hit. I actually still send that out as a Christmas card. So if if you get a Christmas card from me, chances are it's going to have a picture of the puppies on it. Or the year before, and then I'm going to stop talking about Christmas card pictures with the dogs. I had a picture that I took with all 5 of the dogs on the sofa, and it was really cute, and it captured the entire essence of the dogs because Bill, as wonderful as Bill is the biggest baby in the entire world, and when he gets scared, he yawns. And so I snapped a bunch of pictures, and right as he got ready to yawn, I got him at the biggest point of his yawn, and it looks like he's this heavy metal rock singer singing, and it's the cutest picture in the world. I am confirming that for you right now. And you say, how do you authenticate that? Because I said so. That's why. Again, tomorrow night we're going to have Pink. I say tomorrow night. Tomorrow on the show, Pink Cigar is going to join us at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking to the members of the band. And of course, if you have not heard of Friday Night Dance Party before, we make it really easy. First 20, 25 minutes, we call it the chit-chat portion. It's kind of like behind the scenes with Pink Cigar, and we talk to the band about, their musical influences, how they came together, fun stories of, time on the road, how they made this particular album, all that fun stuff. And then we just cut to their music for the next, 35 minutes, 30 minutes of the show. And that's called Hour 1. Hour 2 is always your request. So if you've got a request that you'd like to hear tomorrow on the Friday dance party, send me a note. You can email me at garrett@garrettmiller.com. Says, Garrett, I want to hear this song for the show tomorrow. I'll go like, okay, that's really cool, and I'll give you a shout-out. Or send me a note on Facebook. It doesn't get any easier than that. I've already got 3 or 4 songs lined up for Angela. I've got Paul, who's made a request. I've got Rebecca making a request. We've got Cindy making a request. So I've already got people who are lining up to hear their favorite songs tomorrow. And it's always my pleasure to do so. I love hanging out with you. I love doing the show with you, for you, and hope that you enjoy it as well. We've got some fantastic guests coming up next week, including funny man John Cooperman, which reminds me, and then we're going to get to the closing song. John Cooperman, comedian, funny guy. He's appearing tonight at the Alda Bella Winery. For ticket information, go to the Alda Bella Winery or John Cooperman's website. And the Alda Bella Winery is up in, it's up like north of Hollywood, so it's up in that area up there. And then tomorrow night, on Friday night, at the Ice House in Pasadena, John is appearing there at an 8 p.m. start time. Again, that's John Cooperman at the Ice House in Pasadena on Friday night. Go check that out. Here's a little ditty by yours truly, Garrett Miller. I told you about the YouTube video. Go like it so I can get to 1 million views today. And in the meantime, you can hear it here first, at least 2 minutes and 20 seconds of it. It's the Witch Sisters Halloween. Don't drive distracted. We'll see you Friday.
Ooh, what do we have here?
Met 3 sisters on the beach, alone that Friday night, gathered near a campfire kiln, their fire burned so bright. They each got up and took their turn, looking me up and down. Can we trust him? Can we tell him? They would circle round. The harvest moon above was full, but showed their scary smiles. Come sit with us, the 3 agreed. You'll want to stay a while.
We're the Witch Sisters, the Witch Sisters. Glamour. This Halloween is full of tricks. Tonight we'll share our treats.
The kiln they poured a drink and handed it to me. Bubbled, steamed, and smelled real bad. Drink fast! That is the key. Glamour told of fading stars whose looks laid claim to fame. Under knives now mummified, the plastic surgeons blame. Hag laughed out and spit a tooth when names began to drop like zombies of apocalypse in Hollywood that's hot. Jace went next and shed her hex upon some movies made. You can't cast witch without the kitsch. Their empire soon would fade. You've been listening to Rated G Radio.